Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great, and welcome back to some more Warframe. We are going to be talking about VoidRig and the build that I've been using for all this time ever since Heart of Deimos has been released. If you guys have been living under a rock, you'll know that Lua's Prey is around the corner. Specifically, it is exactly 7 days away from being released, so why not be fully prepared for this? This is going to be a Necramech themed update along with a brand new Warframe. I can't wait to go and play all the new quests and showcase you guys exactly what is happening next, what is the next major threat to the solar system. But before I continue with the video any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would like to support me or the channel any further, do remember to leave a like on this video, as it does help me out substantially. Spartan, click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. We also do have a Discord server, so if you guys would like to go and interact with me outside of YouTube or during any one of my live streams, go ahead and join the server, as this is the place to go and be. What are you guys waiting for? Go and join the server. Without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? So as for the build for the Necramech itself, we are going to be going over 3 individual sectors. The Necramech called the VoidRig, its primary weapon called the Mausoleum, I do want to call it, does actually sound quite cool, and of course, however you pronounce them, the Araquebex, I don't know how to pronounce that, but this is the exalted based weapon that comes with VoidRig itself. Now, of course, let's quickly go over all of VoidRig's abilities. Just like how standard issue for your Warframe, we do have 4 individual abilities. So, ability number 1 called Necraweb. This is a crowd control based ability where you can go and throw this pod, which will then go and slow down the enemy. So, if you do feel like you are being overwhelmed by the infested, then Necraweb is here to help you guys out. Next up is we do have Storm Shield or Storm Shard, my bad, and what this ability does, it allows you to then go and project a magnetic field, which will then go and reflect the enemy's damage back to you. So think of it as a, shield, except instead of like, reducing the amount of damage that does come towards you, it does allow you to go and fight back or reflect the enemy's damage output back to them. Of course, it will sometimes go and kill them. Next up is, if you guys are a big fan of mines, well, VoidRig's number 3 is the ability for you. As you guys can tell, it's called Gravel Mines, and as you guys can tell by a demonstration, you'll then go and flood the entire area with a whole bunch of explosive mines, therefore decimating hordes of enemies. And finally, moving on to the main thing that we are going to be prioritizing is guard mode. So guard mode is basically you'll then be able to go and activate your exalted based ability, or the main gunners. Remember I was talking to you guys about this weapon called the Acrobex, or however you guys pronounce it. Yeah, so guard mode allows you to then go and pull those weapons out and start decimating the enemies. Let me tell you guys, the guard mode is absolutely insanely powerful. Now that we know exactly how VoidRig works, let's go over the build itself. So this is an episode of budget build, so you guys know we aren't going to be adding any Forma anytime soon, mainly because of the fact that I like to roll without Forma, and of course I don't really see the purpose of it, as a lot of the content in this game is relatively easy. But hey, I like to make these videos as it does help you guys out tremendously. Depending on whether Lua's Prey is going to be a tough content where I am going to be required to go and add Forma, I'll definitely go and do so. It'll probably be around 1 or 2 Forma extra, but other than that, here is the build that we are going to be rolling around with. So this is a general build slash survivability slash, the acrobatics based build where you guys can go and absolutely decimate all of the enemies. So here are the mods. As you guys can tell, we've got ourselves Necramech Vitality for a much bigger health pool. The bigger our health pool is, the greater the hit points will currently be. We are going to be rolling around Necramech Continuity, as this does add more duration. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, more duration will allow you to have less strain on your exalted based abilities. The same thing can be said when it comes to efficiency on your energy, but I don't think we actually do go and get those mods out there. I do know we do have engine efficiency, but I do believe that's got something to do with like the boost or the little bar at the very bottom. But Necramech Continuity will allow you to stay in your guard mode form for a lot longer. Next up is we are going to be using Necramech Steel Fiber to give us 90% additional armor. Remember, this is 90% of what you guys currently have. So by adding this mod, you guys are giving yourself 760 armor, which is actually very, very, very good. Now, this particular mod does synergize really well with Necramech Rage. So as you guys can tell, you guys go and convert 15% of damage that is done directly to health to energy. Because one downside to the guard mode is it is very, very, very energy hungry. So why not have a way of getting your energy back? However, it is a little bit risky, but you can negate the risk a little bit by adding a mod called Necramech Repair. Now, the way Necramech Repair works is if your health does go below a certain point, you'll then be able to go and regenerate your health for 10 health per second or 10% health per second over 3 seconds. However, there is a 15-second cooldown. So if you guys are careful and are paying attention to the cooldowns, then you'll be able to basically get all your health back. Next up is we are going to be adding another mod called Necramech Intensify, and just as the name does suggest, we are going to be getting ourselves 30% ability strength. More power strength will equal more damage output on our guard mode or any other damaging abilities, but specifically bigger numbers. And of course, we are going to be rolling around with a Necramech float because we can have a much larger energy pool. The reason why we want a much larger energy pool, it's mainly because of the fact that the longer you guys, or the much bigger your energy pool is, the longer your guard mode will definitely go and last. So moving on to the primary weapon called the Mausoleum, or the Mausoleum, however you guys pronounce it. Just like the previous build, another zero former build, as this wouldn't be an episode of budget builds, now would. So we are going to be going with pure damage mods, and of course we are going to be picking radiation as our element of choice. Feel free to swap this depending on if you guys want to go and play as viral, or you want to go corrosive or whatever. The point is that's entirely optional, but I am going with radiation. So as you guys can tell, we are going to be rolling around with combustion rounds, which gives us more heat damage. Combining this with another mod called Electrified Barrel, which gives us electricity, therefore gives us radiation. Remember, both of these mods are optional. It's entirely up to you guys. Remember, it's purely depending on what kind of enemies you are going to be facing, but I do believe that the infested do have armor, so radiation is good. I'm not too sure what type of armor. I'm going to have to go and do some research before that. So either go with corrosive or radiation, or depending on what kind of mod you guys do currently have. Next up is we are going to go around with magma chamber, because remember, we are going to be using we are going to be using radiation, so magma chamber gives us even more heat damage, and of course a little bit of stage chance because we can go and hit the enemies with some more radiation. Next up is we are going to be going and using ourselves a mod called magazine extension, which gives us a much larger magazine capacity, or much bigger clip, because remember, one downside to these special weapons is that if you guys fully empty out your clip, then you have to wait a bit of time to go and regenerate all of your ammo. By giving yourself a much bigger magazine capacity, you'll then be able to go and dump more rounds onto the enemies. Next up is, because this is a crit based weapon, why not go and add more critical chance? That's exactly what Parallax Scope currently does. Crit based weapon, more crits equals more damage output. Next up is we are going to use modified munitions, because more stage chance, not really that useful, but hey, as you guys can tell, we don't really have too many mods down here, as I don't really go do some Archwing missions. I definitely have to go and do them. And of course, we are going to be using primed rebuilder lined barrel, which gives us more base damage. Now, you guys can go and use the regular version, that is perfectly fine, but hey, I wanted more damage, and this is a zero former build, so why not go and have more? And finally, we are going to be talking about the Beachz. I think that's how you pronounce it. Let me know if I'm correct down in the comment section. If not, let me know how to go and pronounce this particular weapon. Now, remember, this is VoidRig's exalted based weapon, where he then goes and pulls out the main guns and absolutely starts decimating the infested with radiation damage, or whatever damage you guys currently do have on. Now, naturally, because this is a crit based weapon, we are then going to go and prioritize crit. So as you guys can tell, we are going to be using Parallax Scope for more critical chance, Electrified Barrel and Combustion Runs for more radiation. Now remember, these two mods are entirely optional and up to you guys. It all boils down to what kind of enemies you guys are fighting. If you guys want the technicality of it, it all boils down to the armor type. So if they're using ferrite, you go and use the other one, either corrosive or radiation. If they're using alloy, you then go and use corrosive or radiation. The exact terminology is alloy equals radiation and ferrite equals corrosive. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comment section, and of course I will be correcting myself in the future. Now, magma chamber, even more damage output, more heat, more stage chance, because remember, we don't really have too many mods to go and deal with, so we are going to be adding ourselves magma chamber. More heat, more radiation procs. Next up is we are going to be using modified munitions, therefore we can have even more stage chance. Remember, we are going to be making the best to what we currently have. You guys can tell at the very bottom, my mod collection for arc guns is absolutely poor. Next up is we are going to be using primed rebuilder lined barrel for more raw damage. Now remember one thing, you guys don't have to go with the primed version if you don't have it. The regular primed or the regular rebuilder lined barrel works perfectly fine. And finally, this is actually a bit of a weird one, but extension or magazine extension allows us to have even more magazine capacity. Why I think this is weird is mainly because of the fact that, as you guys can tell, this thing only has 16 shots in a single magazine. But if I take it out, it actually does lower that. So, I am going to go and add magazine extension, therefore I can have more, rounds in a single magazine. Even though this is quite a bit of a weird base build, maybe because this is an exalted based build or an exalted based ability. So the amount of ammo that you currently have is determined by how much energy you guys will be dealing with. So, let me know if this is actually a real factor or is this a bug. But if you want a different thing to go and put, feel free to go and put Zodiac's Shred on, maybe because the fact it will give you even more slash damage if you guys want, or any form of utility. Or feel free to go and leave it blank, as I currently would. But hey, I don't like to go and waste mod capacity, so you guys should not go and either do that. If you guys really want to go and add some utility, feel free to go and add Resolute Focus, which basically allows you to go and resist knockdowns and staggering while aiming while you currently are in your Necramech. But me personally, I haven't really experienced any form of knockback while using or while fighting the Infested. So yeah,